What's going on, everybody? This is episode 8. We're watching session 1 of phase 2, week 3. Now, as you guys already know, week 3 is the intentional overreach week. So this is the week where I really just basically push everything to the max. Like whatever I got in the tank, I just push it, right? Now, typically, I'm against that style of training. But as with anything, there's a time and a place to push it, right? And so in each one of my 4-week phases, one of those weeks is an overreach week, right? Where I'm planning it. It's intentional. I'm doing it on purpose. I'm really trying to push the capacity on that week. Whereas in the other weeks, like I mentioned in episode 7, the stimulus is coming from other things. So, week 1, it's the novelty of the exercises. Week 2 has more volume, more intensity than week 1. And then week 3 is just go all out. Obviously, week 4 is the deload. So here you're seeing my final week of snatch grip deadlifts before moving on, to the next phase. So these will be the last week I do these. And they were fun, man. They were crazy. They were interesting. Of course, they're kind of acting as a bit of a deficit deadlift where because the arms are so wide, I have to get quite a bit lower in order to pull it off the floor. So when I transition to a more traditional deadlift with a little bit narrower grip, that should feel just like I'm able to rip it off the floor, hopefully, right? That's the whole goal here. So I was able to work up to, I believe this is 230 pounds. And I was able to get 3 reps. Now, what I was really looking forward to was the squats. Actually, I shouldn't say I was looking forward to it. I was actually dreading it. But this was the final week of high rep squats. So I did high rep front squats in phase 1. And then here we are, high rep front or back squats here in phase 2. So this is the final workout doing high rep squats. And honestly, to me, high rep squats, out of anything you can do, or they just kick your butt, man. They mess you up, at least for me, right? And so this was good for me to kind of push these weights and kind of build that muscular endurance for that squat. Because if you recall, the whole overarching goal of this entire 4-month cycle of training is to increase my overall squat. Now, I haven't maxed out on a back squat in many years, and so that's what I'm hoping to do here in another I guess it'll be about 9 weeks from now. So another interesting thing is when you train something muscular endurance, that really helps with the strength. The same thing when you build strength, it kind of helps with muscular endurance. So there's this symbiotic relationship between training for work capacity or muscular endurance, or you might hear metabolic conditioning, and overall strength. So really what we're doing is we're building a foundation. And there's this idea of like buying in that I think I heard this from my buddy who told me, I think it's from CrossFit, right? Like each workout, they'll have something on the board that's like, this is your buy-in. So for you to be able to get to the workout, you got to perform, the warm-up. Most people, the warm-up is not the most exciting part, but it's super necessary, as George Masvidal, Gamebred would say. It's super necessary. And so to me, this whole phase 1 and 2 of training is not really even necessarily how I like to train, but I'm creating this program how I would program, someone to do it in an ideal fashion. And to me, this phase 1, this phase 2, and these high rep squats are kind of the buy-in. It's what I have to do in order to earn my right to load up that barbell and try a 1 rep max. So that's just little side note there. So here again, just like everything else in phase 2, I have an eccentric component in each exercise. So here I'm doing eccentric dips. So interesting thing about dips, you can see that I'm wearing some elbow, whatever you call them, compression sleeves. There was a few years where I couldn't do push-ups or dips because I had pain and I had like this popping in my elbows, and a lot of it was just from I think just imbalances in my forearm and stuff like that. But I've been able to kind of rebuild myself over the last couple years in terms of just kind of taking it slow and basically just building myself back and just focusing on technique. And I've kind of talked about that where there was many years where I was just doing super heavy weighted dips, super high rep, and I just ended up kind of paying the price for that. And so it's actually exciting for me to be back to doing dips. Literally just this year I've been doing dips again. When, like I said, when I was younger, I used to love doing them, and I could just jump up there and do a bunch, and I would add a bunch of weight and things like that, not even think twice. But I was probably sacrificing like perfect technique and kind of leaning in too much on kind of putting a lot of that stress off of the muscles where it should be and putting it into the joints through not just like having impeccable form. So here is, obviously I'm finishing up this workout with some core work. This was pretty challenging, man. Those rollouts are not an easy thing, and when it comes back around, I want to make a few points about that. And then this exercise here, a weighted sit-up, something I've been doing forever. My Olympic weightlifting coach in high school, this was one of the only core exercises he had programmed in there, and I haven't done it in a while, but it's a great one, man. It's good stuff. And something in this phase 1 and 2 that I've been trying to do, this accumulation phase, is I've really just been trying to make sure I target the abs and just the core in general, because when I move on to the next phases, there's going to be a lot less like direct, isolated core work. So notice here that my abs are crunched, right? There's a little bit of a curve in my back, which typically, right, you would say you don't want to see. But if you're training your abs, I'm keeping those abs engaged the entire time, because as I roll out, gravity's trying to push my back down and kind of push me into like a slouching posture, or like there's going to be an excessive extension in the back. So really what you want to do on that exercise to train the core is keep those abs engaged, and that's what it looks like, right? If you crunch your abs, your chest kind of points down towards your hips, and that's what you want. So there should be a little bit of a curve in your back when you perform that. So those again, those rollouts, super challenging. And then when I get to the sit-ups, every single week my abs were like cramping, and I was like, oh man, this is nuts. Because like I said, not typically my style of training, but you know what? It was good stuff, and I think my core is going to be properly conditioned to hopefully handle the heavy weights that we're going to see in phase 3. And I should just say, and I've mentioned it before, that I'm super excited now to transition into phase 3, which is going to be a basic strength phase. Just completed, today's Friday when I'm recording this, just completed session 2 today, and hopefully I'll finish session 3 tomorrow, and I'll head into the deload week. And I'll have a video for you guys next Friday, and I'm going to switch it up a little bit because if you've been watching this long, you've seen that I've already done 2 deload weeks. I believe it's episode 1 and episode 5. And so I'm going to try to show a little bit more of the mobility stuff I do, and maybe just some general movement skills that I'm going to incorporate next week, because anytime we're training at high intensity, we need to make sure that our recovery is also being like focused on, right? I like to go 1 for 1, one mobility session, 1 restorative session for each intense session I do. Again, that just goes back to the idea of you have to buy into the training. So you don't get to just go intense all the time without also taking care of your body and focusing on that. And that's just a way that you can really try to have a balanced program and really just try not to get injured, right? Like, you cannot just go intense all the time. You need to make sure you're caring for your body, you're stretching, you're making sure your mobility is there, you're being mindful of any pain you might have. Hopefully you don't have any, but then you can address it and hopefully just mitigate any issues that you might have. So that's it for episode 8. I appreciate for you guys sticking in there, watching it this long. If you enjoyed it, please throw a like up on this video, maybe share it with your friends. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Be on the lookout for a new episode next Friday. That'll be episode 9. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.